Welcome to This Week in Auburn Sports. I'm sports editor Will Gaines. That's assistant sports editor Justin Ferguson. We're going to have a little bit different show for you this week. Instead of previewing the Western Carolina game, Justin and I have both come up with midterm grades for the offense and the defense, and we're going to run through those for you at the end of the show. But before we get to that, we're going to recap the Ole Miss game. So, Justin, what were your thoughts from the Ole Miss game last week? Big win.
Very big win. Very good start from Auburn. The quick touchdown drive to open up the game, the pick six by Therese. Auburn built a pretty good lead in the first half, and Ole Miss came firing back in the second half. But once again, fourth quarter defense has just stepped up. And I think as we saw last week, defensive line, especially Carl Lawson, that was a great game out of him.
And they did a little bit, they moved some people around. Nosa Igwe went to defensive tackle, and that really fit him. And I was really surprised. I didn't think it would, but his speed on the inside, that's a weapon. They've got to have stuff like that.
Absolutely. And Lawson, how many times you can say a true freshman gets National Defensive Lineman of the Week? And one of his first SEC starts, Auburn fans got to see his physicality and just what he brings to the table. And he's just out of high school, and he was just wreaking havoc on that offensive line from Ole Miss. But all in all, a great win for Auburn. Gives them some momentum. Get to fine tune some things this weekend against a low level opponent. Got a big trip to College Station coming up next weekend.
Well, let's run through real quick a couple of the stories we have in this week's issue of the Auburn Plainsman. We have a profile of sophomore Jordan Ebert on the baseball team. He had a very nice freshman season last year, and he's looking to build upon that with first-year head coach Sonny Galloway. We also have a report on the Jungle Jam from last Friday night. Sports also has one, and Campus has one as well, and we have something on the front page about it. So we got a lot of coverage from Jungle Jam. And then, like I told you last week, we've got This Week in Auburn Sports, the written version, and we've got women's soccer, women's tennis, and women's basketball. So we got a lot of coverage from them. And then the game day's back again this week. So what do y'all have in the game day tab?
I got a pretty big game day tab this weekend. We have the report card that we are going to go through in a little bit. We have a more detailed version of that in the print edition. Have an interview with former Auburn athletic director David Housel, talking about the 1963 team that was going to be honored at halftime of Saturday's game. Senior spotlight on Ryan Smith, who, as many of you know, had made two incredible defensive plays against Ole Miss. He's been doing that his whole career at Auburn. A little profile on Jeremy Johnson, Plainsman picks. You're going to want to check that out.
So, all right, you want to get this started with the midterm grades?
All
I'll let
right.
you go first with the offense.
All right. So we broke down position by position, and I gave out midterm grades for what we thought the Auburn team has done so far this year. So we start off with quarterbacks, and I gave a B to the quarterback position, mostly based on Nick Marshall. I know Jonathan Wallace has had a couple of series as Auburn's quarterback, but he continues to improve, gets more comfortable with the offense, and we've seen flashes of what he can do. Ole Miss game, only 93 yards passing, but he ran the ball extremely well. Started making great reads. What are your thoughts about how Nick Marshall's progressed?
Well, we talked about this the other day. I would have given him a C, just because I think he's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I agree with everything you said. He's running the ball well. He's improving. And there's no reason why he can't be a B, maybe even an A by the end of the season.
Absolutely.
So I think a C, but a C plus. So I think a good C. But overall, everything you said,
See, I don't
agree
believe
with.
in plus and minus. You
I
get the grade.
I got
Just get the grade.
you.
I gave A's to both the running backs and the offensive line. Talk about the running backs. You have three very quality running backs in Trey Mason, Cameron Arts-Payne, Corey Grant. When you combine that with Nick Marshall's playmaking ability, and behind an offensive line that has done so well after getting they took their shots last year, and they're getting older, they're getting more experienced, and paving the way for the second best rushing offense in the country, which Auburn fans are shocked to hear that. If you would have told them that last year, that Auburn was going to come out and have the second best rushing offense in the country. Finally, wide receivers and tight ends. I gave them a C because, like you said, with Marshall being inconsistent, I see that out of the wide receivers and tight ends. Sammy Coates is leading the way with big catches down the field this year, but I still think there's just something a little bit off with him. He's getting timing down, not getting his timing down with Nick Marshall. There just been some deep ball, just miscommunication, stuff like that. And there's been some drops and missed routes, stuff like that's plagued the unit. And Marcus Davis is stepping up. So they have potential to improve, but a C right now, they got a lot of work to do.
I agree with it. So now let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive line. I gave them a B. I had them at a C until last week, but I think that everything is finally starting to come together. Rodney Garner, you and me talked to Rodney Garner before the season, and he said they're not where they need to be. But
He'll still tell you they're not where they
will.
need to be.
And he is getting, I think it was Gabe Wright said on Tuesday at the press conference, this was the least mad that Rodney Gardner had been on the sidelines all year. But they've got a great rotation going in there. Young guys, D Ford's getting back healthy and starting to make the plays that he thought that he would make before the season starts. So I think, this is a B unit, and I think they could be very good by the end of the season. They're getting better. They're learning the defense, and everything's going good.
A good mix of veterans and young people.
Oh, yeah.
Young guys with talent.
Linebackers, I gave them a C. There's been some bright spots, but just like last year, this linebacker unit is a little bit...
They're missing a star.
It's the weak spot. They're missing a star. I said something here, you can read it this week, that Auburn needs to sign a big-time linebacker. Auburn needs a Carlos Dansby, a Takeo Spikes. We haven't had that in a few years at Auburn. We've got two good ones in Casanova McKenzie and Chris Frost, but they need more than two, and they need that guy that can stuff the run, sack the quarterback, and play the pass. And right now they don't have it.
Talking about playing the pass, though, is secondary. I disagreed with your pick on the secondary.
Well, I thought that, first of all, I want to say what Melvin Smith and Charlie Harbinson have done is very impressive, because this has been the worst secondary in the country the past 3 years. And they are coming up, they're getting picks, and they're knocking balls away, but I still think they're giving up. Ellis Johnson talks about the trash yards.
Yeah.
They're giving the trash yards up. They're having the blown coverages. They're not. There's been times when they've maybe not made a play on the ball like they should have, or maybe guy covers the wrong guy. Just little things like that. But overall, they were a solid F last year, and maybe the year before as well. A C right now at this point in the season. This is just midterm grades. Like I said, they can be, maybe a B or an A by the time the season is over with, and they're still improving.
Speaking of A, you redeemed yourself with your final selection.
I did, yes. Special teams, just like Auburn always has flawless special teams. Stephen Clark's done a great job. Cody Parkey's booming them through the end zone. Trey Mason he's had a punt return. He's getting good field position. There was only two things that I saw that maybe could be improved. You always got to find a little something to tweak.
Yeah.
The first was, I'd like to see Auburn get in there and block a couple kicks. They have done that the past couple
even
years.
Even in the bad years.
Yeah, even last year they blocked some kicks. They need to do that this year, and I think they can do that. And Cody Parkey has got a very strong leg. He booms kickoffs through the end zone, but he can't make a 50-plus yard field goal. That is something. That is something this team needs. Especially when you get into maybe playing a close game with a Georgia, a Texas A&M, or an Alabama. You need a weapon like Cody Parkey to go out there and punch a 50 or a 55-yard field goal through, and he's just not done that yet. He can do it. We've seen him do it in fall practice. He can boom kicks.
He's got the leg.
Got the leg. He's just got to step up and make that play. He's a senior, and he can do it. But other than that, special teams, solid A, probably the strongest unit on the team.
All in all, we gave the team a B, overall team grade a B, and we'll see if they can live up to that against Western Carolina and against Texas A&M next weekend.
I think this will be a good week to maybe do a little more learning about the team, figure out some things, put some people in some different places, and then head to College Station for a big game on the road at 2:30. But that's all we have for this week in Auburn sports, and we'll see you next week.